All right, so I did two review videos on posted them on YouTube. They've actually been there for a little while. So if you want to write these down or come up later and write it down. So when I'm talking about grades, it drives me crazy when I just hear conversations. Mainly because I guarantee you somebody around you is like, man, I wish they would shut up. Besides me wishing that. And somebody owes me, by the way, so that I don't call home. Somebody owes me a retake today. I haven't seen that happen. Let's say when. That's when I hold you. Oh, I'm going to hold you because the immediate. Normally, the guidance counselor is not immediate. I think maybe. Here, let's do it over here. Whoop, that didn't work. That'll work then. All right, so here's the first review video right here. Review, if you can't read it, I'll put it up a little bit higher. That is on the quiz that you're getting Friday. The back side of your new quiz will be that quiz again. I'm changing it. So if you watch that video, it won't be the exact same video. Like if the rotation was 90 degrees, I might make it 180. Or if it was clockwise, it might be counterclockwise. Like, it's not going to be major changes, just different number of degrees and direction. Same way with the reflection. It's not going to be the same exact reflection over the same reflection line. I'll change the line of reflection, but it'll still be a reflection. And then you'll still have to write the rule in one of them. But if you watch that, it will remind you of exactly what's on it, and it won't be dramatically different. Should be all you need to really prepare if you can do it when you watch it. I will probably ask you a question if I'm not sure I trust that you studied. If you cannot ask that or answer that question, I won't let you do the retake. I don't care if it's a deadline day. Like, I'm not creating more work for myself because you thought you were just magically going to come in and retake something without studying. Now, if you never took it, you can take it, but if you're retaking, you can't retake without putting some effort into it and do better. It's just not going to happen. This is the other one I did. Review video of parallel perpendicular quiz. I did the exact same quiz you took on that video. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not really changing that one. It'll have different numbers. Like instead of using a point that's up here, I might use a point down here. Instead of the line going down like this, it might go up over there, but it will be the same exact thing. Just using different numbers when you plug it into your formulas and calculate. That is 2 grades. So there's 3 questions that were 1 grade, and then 2 questions that were another grade. So if you watch that video enough times, don't even really need to practice other problems. If you know you can do those backwards and forwards, don't even have to think about it. You should be good. Again, I'll ask you questions if I don't feel comfortable you've studied. If you can't answer them, I won't let you take it. Let's see. And then you have the new quiz. Like I said, the new quiz tomorrow is on these 2 topics. Oh, here's one. This is the complex stuff, which they won't all be this hard. You need to know how to solve for angles and triangles. So we said when we have triangles, there's 2 concepts. So there will be a more complex one, maybe not even that complex, but it will be a little more difficult than these. Like these are that one's too easy. It won't be like that. That might be on there in some way. That's an exterior angle is equal to the sum of the 2 opposite interior. This is 3 interior add up to 180. This is a whole bunch of them in one. Actually, here, let's just do this. This. Whoop, not that. There. I said you need to know those 4 concepts. Again, you don't have time to write it down. I think I made you write it down the other day if you're here. Those 4 concepts is enough to find every single angle in there. In addition, I want you to understand, this may or may not be on the quiz, I don't remember. Did I have you guys in here write down, do what you know, or do what you can? This would be an example of that. Let's say I erased the 1 and the 3. I'm sorry, the 1 and the 2. They weren't there. They were blank. And then I said, I want you to solve for angle 3, angle 4, and angle 5. I want you to solve for those. You guys would get so stuck on trying to figure out how to go straight to angle 3 that you would not be able to do anything. Because you can't do it. You can't solve for 3. until you solve for these. Do what you can do. Don't jump to where the variable is. Look at the image, figure out what you know. I'm hoping, and it's becoming clear that we have forgotten a ton of stuff because last class scared me with some of the stuff they didn't know. I'm going to show you that in a second when we do the IXL. Vertical angles mean we have an X somewhere in the image. I still have kids really not getting that. Like, I don't, that's it. That's the whole lesson. And we've done it like 10 times. If you can make an X somewhere in the image, got to go all the way through. The lines are going through. That's where an X is. This is not an X down here. There's no X. The lines have to go all the way through each other. Somewhere there's an X. Then you have vertical angles. This angle, even if they don't ask me to solve for it, I could write that in. You should write that in. Do what you know. Do what you can do. Well, now look at that. Now that I wrote that in, again, not worried about the 3. I know that the 3 interior angles of a triangle have to add up to 180. So if I add those two together, subtract it from 180, I can solve for this one. Well, look at that. Now, and this is the trickiest concept in here, what do I know now about the 76, 88, and angle 3? Nevaeh. I mean, what do I know about those 3 angles where I drew the semicircle? What do I know about them? Well, you killing me, girl, with that. I got to make some phone calls on you. I don't know if you've ever been on this. You need to be. I might have tried this. Oh, again. You can't answer stuff like that. We got problems. So I'm going to go through that lesson again for everybody, not just Nevaeh, because I know she's not the only one. If I have a straight line, how many degrees? Actually, I can say that. How many degrees in a straight line? 180. Everybody should know that. We normally say that pretty fast. If I then separate that into 2 angles, what's true about those 2 angles then? They have to add up to 180. Like, can't make you try to learn something if you're not getting it. You got to put some time. Just memorize it if you got to memorize. When you take a line and you split it into 2 angles, each of them, well, adding them together would have to equal 180. If I keep splitting it, now I have 3 angles. Well, technically more you could say, but let's say 3 angles. They still have to add up to 180. I didn't change the fact that I had this original line. I didn't make it bigger or change it in any way. I just split it into another angle. So these 3 would have to add up to 180. So that's how you would solve for 3. But again, you could not have done that if you didn't go through the first 2 steps, which they won't always tell you to solve for those things. You have to just do what you can first. Then eventually, hopefully, you get down to a point where you can solve for what they're asking you. So if I add those 2 together, what's that? 164. So this would be 16 degrees for 3. So now 4 or 5, there's 2 ways to solve it. I'm just going to do it real quick so we can get to IXL. Either I can say, well, I know an exterior angle, 5 is exterior, is equal to the 2 opposite, remote, all the way across, whatever you want to call it, angles added together. So angle 5 is equal to 16 plus 100, so angle 5 is equal to 116. And then I could solve for 4 in the same way I'm going to show you can solve for 5 a different way. I could also say, well, wait a minute. I know for angle 4, it has to add up to 180 with 16 and 100. So I could add those together and then subtract them from 180. So what would that be? 16 116 from 180 would be 164. I'm sorry, 64. All right. Yeah. So I could get 64 there. Well, this then is the same, whether you solve for 4 first or 5 first. This is that same concept. All I did is I took that line and split it into angle 4 and angle 5. So 4 plus 5 has to be 180. So once I solve for either of those, no matter how I do it, I just subtract that from 180. So that's something like that where you have to work through these 4 things. So memorize those 4 things and just think, well, is it vertical angles? I don't think so. Is it linear pair? Linear pair is this, even if it's more than 2. That's linear pair. I had that up on the board the other day. If you want to go watch the full video, I drew in examples of each one of them. Interior angles, that would be how I did this here, or possibly how you do 4 here. And then exterior angle equals the 2 opposite. That would be one way to do 5 once you had those 2. That's the 4 concepts you need for the new part of the equation. Not a lot of great practice problems. I showed you a couple. If you go to your book, this is lesson 5-1. The other lesson, 5-2, nope, 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 nope. Yeah, we didn't practice 5-2 a lot. There are some better problems in that. I've never really assigned any. I mean, again, I don't think this one's that tough. Like, I know I always say that, but if you know 2 triangles are congruent, this is all you gotta know. This is the concept. If you know 2 triangles are congruent, that means the angle of what? Like if you take an angle in one of the triangles, it has a congruent angle in the other triangle. What congruent shapes mean is that each part is congruent to something in the other shape. So R has a congruent angle in R here has a congruent angle in this triangle. This angle S, so part of this triangle, has a congruent angle to this in this triangle. Doesn't mean it's going to be S again. It's not always congruent to itself, but the shape is different. How do we figure out, because again, I can see how that's confusing. Well, why isn't S congruent to itself? Well, it's not because there's a different S angle. This is actually angle VST. This is VSR. They're totally different angles. How did we say we have to match that up? Can't just try to look at the figure. We can't assume S is congruent to S. What do we have to do? Trevor, how do we match things up? Basically, you're going to need to set an equation. What do we set an equation up by matching one thing in one triangle to another thing in the other triangle? Joseph, how do we do it? Literally in big red. You use the name. That's it. I mean, that's all you got to remember. If you say, okay, I want to match R up with whatever R matches up with. Well, then I look at R and it would be an angle. It matches up with the first letter of the other name. That's it. If I wanted to match S up, it would have, so again, it doesn't match up with S. It would match up with the middle letter, V, because it's like we took this triangle basically and we flipped it. So now this angle in the other triangle is actually on the bottom. The V would match up. So this V, actually this V, would be that S. Use the letters. That's it. So if we wanted to match up, I guess I can do this. That, what is that about, Christina? 2y subtract 1 is about what? It's telling us what? Measure of what? Yeah, that's about a line. How'd you know that? That works. I'm fine with that as long as it works. What's the easier way if it gets really confusing? This isn't as confusing as somebody, but oh, I don't remember what it was. The one that was really confusing, basically. There's a lot more going on. What's the way we said, Joseph? Yeah, if there's a degree symbol, degree is the little circle thing, then it's about angles. If there's no degree symbol, which there's not in this one, then it's the length of a line. So 2y subtract 1 is the length of RS. I just need to figure out which side, which line does that match up with in the other triangle. And to do that, I do the same thing I did with angles, but I use two letters. RS matches TV. So I just look at where TV is. Okay, well, then it matches that. If it matches, that means they're congruent. They're the same length. So if they're the same length, that means they're equal. So I set them equal. That's how you saw. Let's change to a. So I write 2y subtract 1 equals, in the other triangle, 24. And the math is not difficult at all. It is not complex algebra once you know how to set the equation. So again, use the letters in the name. If it's about angles, you just use one letter. If it's about a side, you use the two letters and then go to the other name and pick, the first two, second two, first and third, whatever it is. First, if it's an angle. All right, so that's your quiz. Friday, tomorrow, the new quiz. I've not practiced it a lot, but I also don't think it's super complex. There are some better problems, like that's from your book, if you can't tell that. So just go through lesson 5-1, take the books, we're online. 5-1 and 5-2, look at some of the problems, mainly the example is what we've mainly probably done. And then you can watch the video, or you can watch the video and or watch the video on those same lessons, or just watch this video. We kind of reviewed them fast and you sort of did. All right, here's the new stuff. And this will be the last quiz we do this quarter, but it will not be on this quarter. So we'll either do it next week or maybe even the last week. We'll see. Oh, crap. We didn't do the bell yet, did we? We got to do, okay, let's do this real quick. What time do we get out today? The new change. That'd be later. What? Well, actually, not much time. Okay, that's fine. That should be fine. All right, so there was one mistake that killed. If it looked like you sort of knew what you were doing, but then you didn't get the points because you didn't get enough of them right, you made this mistake. There's really no exception. Some people just didn't know what they were doing at all, or the people that knew what they did or what they were doing, they got points. And again, in first period or second period, one of my relatively strong periods, only 5 out of 20-something people got it. I haven't graded this class yet. What's the first question? What's the first question we ask? So again, this is about writing the rule after we've done a reflection, after we've done a rotation, if the rule be used. We said there are two, and in this case, I'm not making you do the rotation or the reflection. I'm just giving you what the point would be, the pre-image and then the image. And it's the same thing you would do after you've done a rotation. Just pick the point that matches up and see how it changed. So, what's the first question we ask? Joseph, you've been pretty good. Trinity. First question we ask. Did they switch places? What that means is the numbers here, the 3 and the 5, don't worry about the negatives yet. They will always be in the second point, or else there wouldn't be a rule. If we just got some random number popping up, there's no way to make a rule for it. So we'll always have the number, the digit part in the second point, the final point. So we ask, well, when it moved to the final point, did they switch places? So in the first one, did they switch places? It didn't, right? 3 was first, 3 is still first. 5 is first, 5 is second, 5 is still second. So what do we do if they don't switch places? What do we write? Oh, we just write XY. If it's, so again, if it started as XY and they don't switch places, it's still going to be XY. I showed you another way or an additional way to do this next part. What is the next question, Sage? After we ask, did they switch places? And we do that part, what do we ask next? Did it change signs? God, I wish I could hear what you're thinking in your head. If I heard somebody in their head say negative or positive, I would walk over with my ruler and I would just start beating them. Because I've told you a million times, do not think positive and negative. I'm just wonder if anybody ever teaches. Too many kids make this sentence. Like I said, everybody that didn't get the point was sort of, oh, this was almost everybody got the order correct. That there was not an issue really at all, unless you just didn't know it all. So this next mistake was it. I showed you how to do it. I'm going to show you again. And it wasn't exactly what I'm doing. I'll get to it. We follow the first value to where it went. Again, we already said it stayed in front. So over here, we're going to follow that. And I would do this process because, like I said, not many people got it. Now I ask the second question. When that 3 went from the pre-image to the image, did it change signs? The answer is yes, right? Did I say anything about positive or negative? Yes. Because I don't care what it is. If I say yes, it changed signs, I put a negative there. I don't care that it's not negative in the final. Everybody did that missed it. They put what the final point was. If it was positive, they wrote in a positive, which doesn't change anything. You don't need that anyway. If it was negative, they wrote negative, even if it didn't change signs. This sign, when you're writing it, means that it's switched, not that it's negative. I should put this in. I don't care that it's positive on the second point. It switched signs, changed signs. So I write a negative because it changed signs. That's what cost everybody the points. It didn't give it. They were looking at, oh, well, yeah, it switched. Oh, but now it's a positive, so I don't need to do anything. If it switched, then you put a negative in front of the X or the Y, whatever it is. So now, next, I would go ahead and erase and do it over again. If you want to do it on top, maybe so that it's clear. I would now do more arrows. Oh, I don't know why I stopped there. I went from the back to the back. So the Y, which represents the 5, went from the back to the back. I asked that question again. When the 5 went from the back to the back, did it change signs? Okay, yes. Well, what did it start as? First one was what? And the pre-image was what? What is that? -5. When it went to the back in the image, did it change? Yes. I hope you're all saying yes inside your head. You can't say, just say, if you can't answer that question, we really got problems. It went from -5 to +5. So yes, it changed. I don't care that it went to a positive. If it changed, you write a negative sign. That's the answer. -x, -1. So I'm going to quickly do the other ones. I'm not even going to erase any lines. So I say, well, did they switch spots? And I'm going to, on the second one. Did they switch spots? Yeah. So why? I'm hoping you all have that down. That not many people are missing that. Raul, I'm going to kind of help you just so we can get through it. When that 3 went from the front to the back, which means the X went from the front to the back. Did it change signs? So what do? Nothing, right? If your answer is no, you don't do anything. You go on to the next thing, the Y. So when the Y went from the back to the front, meaning the Y here went from the back to the front, did that Y value change signs? Let's see. Oh, Damon, wake up. Bam, did it change sign? Wake up. Huh? No. So again, if I answer no, I'm done. I don't do anything. I don't write anything in. I don't care if it says negative here. I don't care. It did not change signs, so I don't write any negatives for either of them. Again, you do not care what the sign is over here. You just care whether or not it changed. Last one then, and then we'll get into the stuff, the congruent stuff. Do they switch places? -3 started with -3, -5. Do they switch places?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So that means these switch places. That went to the back. When it went to the back, did it change signs?
Yep.
So if you say yes, let it write my arrow in. The arrow helps me put it in the right spot. Some people put a negative in, but they put it on the wrong thing. So that's why I'm doing the arrows. I'm following the X, so I'm following the X, so I know to put the negative on that value. Up here, I'm following the Y, and I'm following the Y, so I know, did it change signs? -5 to 5. Well, if you say yes, you now know where to put it when you follow it with those arrows. That's why I did the arrows. All right, so you'll get another shot, individuals, not a whole class. There's also another exit ticket I'm going to throw in on parallel lines. You see all those 1s and 2s. If I have time, we may do a quick thing on that today, but I doubt I'll do it today. It basically has to do with that concept of, do I set them equal or do they add together and equal 180? A lot of you never even took that quiz. A lot of you never retook it when you probably should have retaken it. And then some of you got 100 on it. It wasn't that tough quiz. It's only 2 questions. All right, so I'm going to quickly go over this, and we're going to jump into IXLs to risk practice one. These 4 things, and only these 4 things, prove congruent. If you have 2 congruent triangles, and they ask you, are those triangles congruent? You can't look at them and say, yeah, they're congruent. I can tell by looking. No, you can't. You cannot tell by looking. Even if I put that triangle on top of the other triangle, you couldn't tell for sure. It could be off by such a small margin, you can't visually see it. Be off by 1 atom. You can't see an atom. So there are only 4 ways to prove 2 triangles are congruent. Sometimes they're easy and they just give you what you need to know. Sometimes they're not, and you got to figure out some stuff in order to have enough information. And sometimes you just don't have enough information. Like I have no idea if those are congruent. Can't tell. There's no information at all on them. So we said if we knew all 3 sides were congruent, and we said it doesn't matter what order I go in, left, right, none of that matters. Those 2 are congruent because I know that the 3 sides. Oh, really quickly, God, I keep learning like what kids not getting, but not because they tell me, but when I go around and do exit tickets, they can't answer certain questions. When I'm coming up with these letters, because that's what you're going to do in the exit ticket, say, you're going to tell me what 3 letters you have, which means what congruence marks do you have. If they are on, and again, some of you are going to be like, on there, but some people aren't getting it. I guarantee some people here aren't getting it. If the mark is on a line, then it's an S. It's a side. That mark is on a side. If the marking is in an angle, so that's a congruence mark, then it's an angle. It's an A. That would be an A. Those are angles. Like kids didn't know what an angle was in that stuff. Or they didn't know, like, I don't, my jaw probably dropped. That's good. Again, on a line, then it's an S. It's a side. If it's inside a little corner, you got to think of it as corner. Think of it as corner. It's an angle. I mean, when you're not getting stuff, and I know you're going to be embarrassed to do it in front of people, but you got to come up to me and ask me afterwards, like, what in the world are we talking about? Because when you can't get that kind of stuff, it only gets worse if you don't say something about it. If you're not scared to ask me in front of people, that would be best, because I guarantee you it's never one person not getting it. Never. Somebody else isn't getting it also because of whatever I said that didn't make sense. All right. So that's how we come up with the A's and the S's. So now let's just do a couple. Oh, and we said yesterday there's two things that will never prove congruent. It's not enough to say two things are congruent. There are these two things right here. Angle, angle, angle doesn't work because I can shrink the triangle and still keep the angles the same, but yet it won't be the same triangle. It'll be smaller, or I can enlarge it and it'll be bigger. But it's not congruent, even though all the angles will stay the same. So that's never enough. This one, there's no great intuitive way to think about it. I just said there's no profanity in congruent triangles. So if the triangles are congruent, there can't be any profanity when you put the letters together. So if you're not getting that, look at those letters backwards. That's what I mean. So if you have three letters that either you just come up with three that are profanity, or you can look at them backwards. Oh, I forgot to say that. We can always change the order for any of these. So side, side, side would still be side, side, side. Side, angle, side, if I change the order, is still side, angle, side. Angle, side, angle is still angle, side, angle. So those are not an issue. But if you go in a different order than I go in, you might come up with this. You might start with the side and come up with side, angle, angle. That's still the same thing. We don't write that down as a separate reason that can prove congruence because it's the same thing as that. I might go clockwise and come up with side or angle, angle, side. You might go counterclockwise and come up with side, angle, angle. So you have to know you can change the order. It's still the same concept. Just like here, I could change the order and that would still be the same concept. It would not work. And we'll practice it. This is the trickiest one. I'll tell you the easiest way. Ask yourself, is the angle, if you have one angle and two sides, ask yourself, is the angle between two sides? Yeah. Well, I don't even have a month ago. So, like, is the angle between two sides then? It is, right? So that would be, when you were going to write your three letters, that would be angle, side, angle. Now, if it looked like this, and it's easy when the triangles are separate, it's a little trickier when they're not, is the angle between the two sides. Then it's not angle, side, angle. It would be a so that would be angle, side, side. It's not between them. So don't think just because you have an angle and two sides, it's always this one. That's what kids were doing. You gotta follow the congruence marks and in order write the letters. And you never skip an angle and a side back to back. I would never go from here, skip this side and skip this angle. Like go to the next thing. Sometimes I could skip, like I could skip that side, but I never skip an angle and a side back to back. So I could skip the side and go to the angle. So that would be angle, angle, side. And you're going to practice a lot. So the only other two things I'm going to tell you, and then we'll get going. There's two times when they expect, I expect, we all expect, everybody expects, you to understand a concept we've already done. One of them is this. What is in that picture? Just talked about earlier. And there's an X. That means we have vertical angles. They will never, ever, and not in this lesson at least, put congruence marks on those two angles. They expect you to know that. We did vertical angles as the very first thing we ever did in angles. They expect you to know that. And I told you that's going to be the probably most commonly used concept we do in angles. So you would have to put your own congruence marks in addition to whatever else they gave you. There's another situation, and it could be all kinds of. Oh, that was me. Eh, they may give you those two triangles, and they may have a couple of congruence marks in, like this. That's what we'll just do. That, and then we'll say that. Well, so here's the other thing that was a big issue in other classes. I don't try to say, oh yeah, I have two angles. I have an angle here, and then I have an angle up there. So it's one of the ones with two angles. You look at one triangle at a time. I can't pull in that angle from the other triangle. I ignore that triangle, and I have side and then angle. But that's all I have. At least that's all they get. I need to know one more thing. Melinda, what else do I know about that figure? That's all they gave me, but they expect me to understand something else is true in it. Kind of a similar thing that they expect you to know vertical angles, but it's not about angles. No idea? Anybody have any idea what we could state if something is congruent in that they didn't tell us? No, we can't assume the angle at the top is. Turns out it has to be. Can't assume. What if I took my scissors and I cut right through that middle line, right? I'm going to cut through that middle line and I'm going to break it out into two triangles. All right, so now I have that. What's true about this line? It doesn't look like it drawn. What's true about that line there and that line there? I did that. Liliana, way up. Elijah, what's true about that line? It's the same side, right? All I did is I took this and cut it, so it's got to be the same in both triangles. They expect you to understand in an image that side is also congruent because it is the same side. It's congruent to itself. We talked about that a long time ago. It's called the reflexive property. You use it a lot in triangle proofs. If you ever see a statement in a proof about triangles where they just say, well, that side is equal to itself, like AB equals AB. The reason is always reflexive property. And you use it a lot in situations like this where two triangles share a side. So when you see that on your IXLs today, you need to put in those congruence marks. Then you say, oh, well, now I have side angle side, which does prove congruence. Only two things can never prove, well, not in the lesson we're in right now. You always have to have three things. All right, that's everything you need to know. I don't know how much you paid attention to that, but go ahead, pull your laptops out. Raise your hand if you do not have a laptop. Oh, we're not going to go on this side. I'm probably going to have you two. Actually, why don't you two just share yours? That fine? Well, you, Delaney, and Joseph. That way I can have the four for them. Do you not have one of these? When you want to go right? No, I want you on your own because I'll figure out how to do it with you two. Oh no, not with you. You have to go after you're done with the exit ticket. Once I said, yeah, you're done, I may tell you to go into the fall challenge unless I want you to keep practicing a little more on the ISF. Yeah, we're supposed to be doing that fall challenge. They keep getting on us about us being teachers, about the fact that kids haven't been doing it. So I'm telling you, I'll be telling a lot of you if I feel like you're good on the IXL stuff on this lesson, I'll be telling you to go to the fall channel. No laptop? Oh, raise your hand again. Ravonsky, you said you didn't have one at all, or you should have a charger, or what? Just need a charger. I have chargers all around. So the IXL, if you didn't see it down at the bottom again, LER. So go ahead, go into that, start working, do attendance, and I'm gonna start walking around, asking you the questions I'm gonna ask. After Alexia gets back, I'll let you do it. I don't really have a pass that I've written. I don't know where they went, but you can use that blue one over there. Somebody else that needed a laptop? I had 4 hands up. Didn't somebody else need a laptop? For five. All right, we have 4. Who else? So again, works for a little while. You open it up and you put your hand down. It's an easy exit point. I mean, anybody that actually tries, if, yeah, you're just going to keep doing them, LER, and then I'm going to walk over at some point and say, do that one. And I might ask you questions about it. If it's too easy, I might ask you a question or two, but you need a, yeah, if you need a quarter, we'll sit up here. Yeah, as soon as I do, oh, don't go to 100. If you get to 90, either just stop, call me over, or miss a couple if you want to keep practicing. Miss a couple so you go backwards in your score. But don't go to 100. You have to, because you have to show me. If you get to 100, you can't show me. I need to see you do one. Because I'm going to potentially ask you questions about it. Oh, crap. We got to do one more thing. I forgot. Go ahead, look up here real quick. I need to show you one of the IXLs that we haven't done. All right, here you go. Everybody look up here, because you're going to get these and you're like, what? And they're not that bad. What? See, somebody already did it. All right, so oh, I don't want to see the question. I'll just tell you what it is. The question is going to say, this, I will quiz you on this if it pops up. Which 2 triangles are congruent? That's the really easy part. It's really easy. And then it will say, though, write a congruence statement. That just means name them correctly. That's all that means. Because when they're congruent, we have to match up the congruent parts. So the correct angle has to match up with the correct angle. Correct side has to match the correct side. There's a couple that are easy, one that's a little trickier. So I'm just gonna, this is the easiest one, and then I'll show you the hardest one just visually. First of all, you look at these and you tell me which, well, don't tell me, but like decide which 2 you think are congruent. You don't have to say it out loud. Very obvious. Like there's something different about one of them that's not even in the other ones. So again, I'm sorry, which 2 are congruent part is easy. Don't overthink it. It's the obvious answers. Well, I'm not sure what you mean by first 2, but all you do is you make sure they have the exact same mark. So here, that side has 2 congruence marks. That side does not have 2. That side does not have 2. So that one doesn't have anything congruent. So immediately I know that one can't be it. It had 2 congruence marks on one of the sides. Now let's see if these are. Well, I have 1 congruence mark in an angle, 1 on a side, 2 in an angle. 1 in an angle, 1 on a side, 2 in an angle. Those are the 2 that are congruent. Here's the tricky one. You have to name them correctly. So you need to take notes on this. Write in your notebooks what I'm about to say. This is to write exactly what I said. Make sure you write this down. I think, I don't remember he said it. This one does that. It's when it's trying to connect. He said whenever it's having trouble connecting to the Wi-Fi, it'll get stuck here. It's been an issue on some of them. So I'll try, see if I'll leave it on. We'll just turn it off again. If you need to, you can work with on the IXL. We'll try to do it for the fall challenge. All right, so here's what you write. When you are naming, and I'm going to say triangle, it really applies to all polygons, but when you are naming congruent triangle. So naming means we're going to call it triangle ABC or triangle XYZ, whatever the letters are for the vertices. So when you are naming congruent triangle, start with angles that have congruence marks. Which you won't always have, but you got a better than 50% chance that you do. So when you are naming, start with the angles that have congruence. So that's kind of one bullet point. I'm going to give you a second bullet point. And you have to go in. Oh, yeah, never mind. So I started with R because it had a congruence mark. Luckily, I have Q, which also has a congruence mark. So I went to that. Then I went to S. That's what that means. What was I going to say? Oh, I forget. It'll pop up then. So now, the order. So here's your second bullet point. It's not really part of that first one. The order of the first name, the first triangle, doesn't matter. You can do whatever. I mean, again, if you follow that first rule, you would probably all come up with a similar name. But you might have said QRS instead of RQS. So the order of the first one doesn't really matter. If you want to write what I'm about to say, you can. If you think that's enough, what I just told you, that's fine too. We have to make sure, though, that we match the second name up correctly. Again, we have to make sure whatever angle is congruent, or whatever angle we pick in this triangle, we pick the congruent angle in the other triangle. They have to match up in the name. Because remember, I told you when you solve, you have to use the names to solve. So that means when we name, if we're the ones naming, we have to make sure we match the correct angle. So what's congruent to R? Which angle? Oh, that's in the same triangle. We're looking at the other triangle. We're picking an angle from one triangle and matching it with the congruent angle in the other triangle.
Oh, right.
And Q is incongruent to R anyway. They have a different number of congruence. So Z is congruent. It's not difficult. You just have to remember that's how you do it. One congruence mark matches up with one congruence mark. So my first letter, my first angle really, is Z. Now if I'm lucky, I have another angle. What's that? And I do, this is again the easiest one, because if I didn't have this, it gets a little trickier, not bad. So now I just say, okay, well, I went to Q, which has 2. Well, I need to go to X. And then the last one doesn't have anything. S matches up with Y. It's also the only thing left that I have. So that's the easiest situation. Now has everybody got that? Hopefully you wrote those 2 triangles down and that's not going to be hard. So copy those 2 triangles down. You may want to copy them 2 more times in a minute. Oh, all right. So now I'll show you the second toughest scenario. Still pretty easy. Let's say it gave us this. And we did not know this. So we didn't know that. Instead, they gave us the side. So this would be side, angle, side. That's why these are congruent. We have side, angle, side. Same thing. What do I start with? Well, actually, no, I still start with it. I'd start with this in the first name. I start with what?
This book.
Well, the what that has a congruence mark. What'd you write? Read what you wrote. You should have written exactly what I said. What did I just tell you to write as the first thing? Saved. What did I tell you to write? What did I tell you to write? Yeah, that's why you get called. Again, start with the and I hope you said this. Start with the angle that has a congruence mark. Well, Q has a congruence mark, so I'm still going to start with Q. Now let's write it here. And again, now I don't have another angle, so I just got to pick a direction to go. So I'm just going to say QRS, just because that's alphabetical. Doesn't mean it's going to be alphabetical in the other triangle, so don't think that. So now when I go to name, first one's pretty easy. I just find the angle with 2 in it. Well, that's X. Now, though, I don't have an angle that matches up with R. There's no congruence marks in R. We're pretending like that doesn't exist. So you have to use the marking on the side. If I went to R next, so basically the first side is QR, well, QR has 1 congruence mark. So I need to make sure I use the side here that has 1 congruence mark. So I need to go not from X to Y, I need to go from X to Z, because that's where the 1 congruence mark is. And I need to make sure that side matches up now, because I don't have another angle that matches up. And then once you do that, you put the last letter 1. It's not a bad idea, even in that one, to go back and just make sure they all match up. QR has 1 congruence mark. XZ has 1. RS. Oh, there's no, well, yeah, that's fine. RS doesn't have any congruence marks. Well, ZY doesn't have any congruence marks. What's that? Oh, QS has 2. XY has 2. And it's not a bad idea at the end to go back and just make sure all your sides match up, because that's where you're going to make mistakes. Is the sides not matching up. All right, here's the toughest one then. Let's say we didn't know any angles at all. And visually, let's say we couldn't tell which sides match up. Meaning that pretty much all the sides look the same exact length. Here's where you can make a mistake. And some of you will make a mistake, but it's easy to correct. You just need to not freak out and understand this is all you have to do. I'm going to just now, I don't have any angles that have marking. All I have is sides. So I'm just going to pick an order. I'm going to pick S, Q, R. If there's no angles that have congruence marks, I just pick an order. Now I have to make sure I match them up. So S, so now I have to go with 2 letters. I don't have any angles that match up, so I got to look at 2 letters. So SQ has 3 marks. So I need to go with Y or XY, right? That has 3 marks. So XY. Oh, XY. And then I only have 1 letter left, right? So I write Z as my final letter. Make sure you match the side up. Oh, need more than a hump. We match the size.
Oh.
SQ had 3 marks, right? XY has 3 marks. So I wrote and SQ was my original name. So I marked or match X or SQ with XY. That has 3 marks. You gotta match this. If you don't have angles that are congruent, like they don't have any markings, you gotta figure it out from the sides. No. So, because there's something that you gotta see. You gotta see something first. That's wrong, I think. Look at the name and test it to see if it works. Do the test to see if I match all the sides up correctly. I matched up SQ and XY correctly, but try the second 2 letters. What are the second 2 letters in the first name? QR. 1 congruence part. What are the second 2 in the other one? Ruh-roh. 2 congruence. That does not match up. So you have to be very careful. This is why if you just test it at the end, it's an easy fix. What do you think I can do to fix it? Not the other direction, because I still, SQ does match up with XY. That's correct. I can't move the order. I can't move. I can't get rid of the X's and Y's here, but what can I do with them? Okay. Hey, just flip it. YX is still that same sign. It'd still be right. But if I flip them, now XZ is the one that has 1, which does that. That's all you got to do. You name it and you test it out and it doesn't work, just take the first 2 letters because you match those up correctly and just change the order of those 2. All right, go ahead, go in, practice LER. I'm going to start walking around. We got to get now. No, you can't. I changed my mind. You can't. I'm just kidding. No, I can't change it again. No. Okay. All right, so I'll give you like 2 or 3 minutes to try to do a couple. And then I'm going to start walking. How do you do what I have? Oh, he went. Yes, sir. LER. Yeah, LER. Learn. That could be on you. This fur, I was spelled fur, FUR. So LUR. Fur learn. So that's the name. That's actually the one we're on there. It's literally the one I just did. Oh, wait. No, it's not. It's easier. You have an angle. So how do you name the first one? Start with what we said. Get your name from. Let's do that. How's your mom? Get yourself on. Let's do it. Yeah, Mark is really. I'm sure I
Sure, I thought you should have done letters in my letters. No, I was doing it.
Let's say the fireworks thing going on. Do I need glasses or? Oh no, you just want this.
Well, I do.
Honey bun, Doritos. I don't remember what that. Maybe Airhead. Yeah, lifesavers or gummy, gummy. Cheated. Hockey. Gonna try that. Oh, I don't know. Try them if they want to. We're not breaking them back. Video. Because they don't know I meant ask like commit when you leave. That's why they can bring them back. You'll be here tomorrow. I see you on Friday, goofball. Questions? Ready or you have an actual question? You're just ready? All right. Yeah, don't go to a 100. Remember, do not go. I will not give you any credit. You're at a 100. You'll have to do it another day. Look at the dump truck. Especially. Oh, you want
Can I talk to him for 5 minutes? That's about
you want No, I'm totally fine. Oh, the name right?
no, I'm not.
Oh, it's good. They need you, man. Tonight's a good one.
All right.
Then we need them. We need you at Dunedin. Oh yeah, we need everybody tonight. Girls basketball at Dunedin. Are you guys cheering? Yeah, I didn't think you. Somebody said you. I thought you only cheered on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah. Oh, Tim said you know. So Mr. Larson had something real quick.
Hey, it's at Dunedin.
No, here. It's all good. Hey, it's your-
All right, so hey, listen. I know we're all locked in our math, but if you give me attention, I promise I won't take more than 5 minutes. Okay, I got. Do I have any 10th graders in here?
Yep. Should have a little bit of everything.
Any ninth graders? A couple. Okay, so it sounds, and then 11, 12. Okay, so
Some of the 11th are testing, but yes.
Okay, so listen. I got 3 quick things I want to talk to you about. First things first. The majority of you, well, why don't you do this? Raise your hand if you have never seen this before. Okay, and if you can't see it, it's just a grading chart. Okay.
Okay.
And I'd imagine across all of your classes, you've probably seen this once or a couple times, right? Why would the principal of the school, you see this one? You see this? Right? Why would the principal of the school be in your math class right now asking you if you've seen a grading chart? Don't all yell at me once.
Okay. This is my loud question.
Come on, why do you think? Somebody help me out. Okay. Why? Did everybody hear what he said? He screamed at me. He was like, there's no midterm. Everybody hear that? Okay. Why don't we have a midterm? Everybody know? Because of hurricanes, right? How much is a midterm worth, usually, if we had them? Anybody know?
30?
25% of your grade.
Oh.
Right? But why is that important is because now you don't have that test that is worth 25% of your grade over your head, right? And what would normally happen around here is next week you would review for your midterm, right? So there's no new instruction going on. And then the next week after that, you would take this big test. We don't have that going on, right? And so the reason why I started off by showing you this chart is so that we understand the impact that our quarter grade has on our semester grade. And I don't know about each and every one of you, how you are academically. I'm telling you how little Jeff Larson was when he was in high school. I could not focus for a semester. I would even say like a quarter would be hard, right? But if you told me, Mr. Larson, lock in for the next 11 days, 4 hours and 10 minutes, I could do that. I could lock in for 11 days. I could show up for 11 days and do everything my teacher asked me to do for 11 days. Because I know it could drastically impact my GPA. And I'll tell you that one of the biggest examples is this. If I got an A first semester, first quarter, and whatever, hurricane, all sorts of stuff happened, and then I got a D second quarter with no exam, who knows what my grade would be? A B. B. Right? So you see how easy, and I'm not saying it's easy, but like without that exam over your head, you have 2 things that pull from it. So whatever Mr. Gill tells you to do for the next 11 days, you do. There's things you can make up, make them up. Do whatever you got to do. Right? Because if you can figure out a way to pass this quarter, you can pass for the semester. Or if you figure out how to bring a D up to a C, it greatly affects it. Does everybody understand that? Okay. All right, cool. The next thing I want to talk to you guys about is PM testing. And this is for my 9th and 10th graders. Next week, you're going to do your PM test. It's your PM2. All right? This is important. right? Because one, our goal for those 9th to 10th graders is when you take that PM3, right? You hit that proficiency mark, that level 3, so you can check that box for graduation. You don't have to worry about it, right? So, but it's important that you understand how to take that test. It's an adaptive test. So what does that mean? That means you cannot skip. You cannot skip questions. You cannot, has that little tag where it says flag? You can't flag them. You want to know why? Because that computer program that does that test, if it sees that it's flagged or that you skipped it, it automatically assumes you got it wrong and it lowers your level. All right? So you have to take that test one question at a time, be your best self on each of those questions, right? Without skipping or flagging, right? And it's also important to know that where you end your PM2 is where you start your PM3. So if I do well on PM2 and I get a level 3, right? When I go to take my PM3, I started a level 3. So now all I have to do is maintain that level 3 to get my proficiency, as opposed to fight my way up from a level 1 or a level 2 to get back up there. Does that make sense? So be your best self. Take your time, don't skip, and do well on that PM2. Okay? Last thing I want to talk to you about is cell phones. I shouldn't say cell phones, electronic devices. As a school, we're doing really well in this department. I don't do cell phones out right now, right? Calculator, I like that, right? But what we need to do is tighten up. Technically, the policy before school, during lunch, after school. That's when you can use your cell phones. So not doing lunch. Not during passing time. Not when I get a pass to go out to the bathroom, right? Listen, I talked to you about me as a student. I probably, if I had cell phones when I was in high school, I probably would have gone to the bathroom to text message, right? I probably would have done that. I'm not trying to bang you up for that. What I'm trying to do is get you to tighten it up. And one way we got to tighten it up is with our headphones, right? Earbuds, right? First of all, when I walk through the classroom door, no matter where it is, whatever classroom it is, those electronic devices got to go away. Headphones, right? Cell phones away. When I go out into the hallway for passing time, who's got headphones on? That's he? Is that earbuds? Anybody got real, regular head? Oh, perfect. I just don't want perfect. Can I borrow? Okay. So when I go out for passing time, right? And you know, if you see me in the morning, you know I love my music, right? I jam, right? All right. But I gotta have at least, stop making fun of me. Don't worry about me. Talk about me.
You need to be staring at that one over there.
Right.
Actually.
So, but I gotta have at least one ear off. Does that make sense? Why am I asking that? Say again? Perfect. If you didn't hear what she said, she was screaming at me as well. You have to be aware of your surroundings. And so what I mean is, though, like if there's an adult or there's somebody else talking, saying something important you can hear, right? Or if someone's coming over the PA on an announcement, you got to be aware of your surroundings. That's good. All right. Any questions with me? All right. I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. Got 10 seconds with the principal. Here you go. That's James. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mr. I appreciate you.
Yeah. I'll send this one to you.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
All right, thank you. All right, so keep practicing. I'll start coming around. You good? If you're ready, I'll start coming to you. A bunch of you, I think, are ready. So I'm gonna do it fast. If you get the one that is a naming one, go ahead and like start doing it. Put the names in and just call me over, and I'll just watch you submit since we're running out of time. So again, some of them are the naming ones, like on the screen. Go ahead, set it up, figure out which two are congruent. Type in what name you think is correct, and I'll just come over when you're ready. Do not submit it, though. I want to see your name and stuff in there, because sometimes they actually mark it wrong as right. I think some people are putting spaces accidentally. If I see it and it's right, I don't care if it's spaces. You need to put in there the name spacer. Yeah, so this side. Who else is ready?
Oh, I'm about to get a little dirty.
Everyone's $5. All right. Go onto my computer and I'm gonna walk up there with you. What do you need to know in that they don't tell you? Or whether that would be.
So you out here cussing for dirty mouths. They're in your dirty mouths.
You, are you ready?
Oh, Miss Ma'am.
Do you know how to do that one?
Yeah, sure.
All right, name it. When you're ready to submit, go ahead and call me back over. Do you know how to name that? Try to do it. Call me over before you submit. So you're getting into this stuff?
Oh, we know. What kind of question do you do this?
Any of them. Yeah. So if you know how to do that, pick the two that are congruent. I just went over how to name. Before it, don't submit it though. Right, type your name in and say, I'm ready, Mr. Gill. I'll look over. A couple of people have had it marked it wrong when it was really right. Get it?
Wait, when are we gonna stop? Oh, maybe.
Let me see, just make sure. Are you just guessing?
No, I actually tried it.
So R has one, so it should match up with I. Perfect. S, we don't have anything in the angles, so RS is one. I K. Oh, I'm a shoot. That's why I was looking at. I didn't even notice that. I was looking at their answer, not her answer. So what did you type? What was your answer? And you said JIK. I'm just gonna come back. So get another one. You gotta get back. No. You literally just heard him talk about not going out. You gotta do this. You get the price and I'll not. No, you're not getting one. You're not going anywhere. You need to do one. Because you especially, I need to do straight. Stay there. I'll talk to your mom. Let's call her right now if we're in class. I'd love it if I your mom. So if you want to call her, we'll talk to her right now. Unless you got something going on, you want to step outside and tell me, I've got to get your grade up going. This is a free, basically, it's a free point I'm trying to see if you guys.
That's the closest one.
You're going to make it spit.
That's the closest one. It's the cost of game.
Are you ready? I'm going to have you do the same thing. Who's coming up with me?
I'm ready.
No sign.
Ready?
It's fine.
You said yours died, right? I'm going to have you come up. Who else is going to come up?
Me.
Who else's computer died?
Over your side.
Oh, you're over here.
I'm about to die, but.
Coming up. No, I'm just trying to get. Oh, there's an because so you try to name that. You have to type it. Actually, just write it up. Oh, yeah, we could just write this
I
up.
was able to get to 50 before my computer did.
Well, I mean, 50. I don't. The score means nothing. So I want you to name the correct. Define what the correct way. Speak through it. Name them. Fit. All right. I really don't know. Yeah. Still working on it? Working on it? Ready? Yeah.
This computer.
43.
Or as. We got, I mean, for 2 things after school, one thing in state for a while, like before a game or something like that. Like for hour and a half.
Bro, are you kidding?
You can.
Bro, I said I got a problem on that.
So what do you do there?
I still don't know.
Or you got to one part?
No.
Yelling girl.
I think. Yeah. Oh, damn.
Side angle angles.
I submitted. I forgot.
Ready? I don't have a lot of time to sit here and help. So what's just like, try to go to another one maybe. Like, you think you never showed that. All right, let's find out. I just.
Okay.
All right. Alright. Yeah, everybody get an appointment. Okay, we're still doing that one.
Bro, Christina, stop touching my stuff. I'm about to
Second.
this. I didn't even your computer.
Ready.
Alright.
Not even your computer. I'm still doing it.
So in that one, what are your letters you would have? M, O, P, like that's some these. You can just tell me. Yeah.
Christina,
Letters. A's and F's.
Stop.
I've been angry. What do you have?
Not even my. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's not on my birth certificate.
That proves congruence.
It was on your birth
And never proves.
certificate.
Ready? Why just submit it?
When do we leave?
I really don't know. Yeah.
I'm
I'm not gonna have you do fall challenge since he came in and talked for a while.
40 times.
What do they expect you to know in this? It's not given to you. It was. Oh, did you write it up there?
Yeah, but I pressed submitted because I forgot that I was supposed to wait for you to.
I didn't write that one. Tell me. That's a super easy one, but here, just hold on a second.
Actually,
I
no,
don't-
come back when I get an easier one.
That's an easy one. What do you? I need you to know what they expect you to know in that. Something else is congruent. They say will never ever tell you it's congruent in an image like that. With more congruence marks, you should be able to put in that.
The line.
So if we have.
Yeah. Oh.
That's congruent. So now what do you have? Again, ignore one triangle. Just look at one triangle. What parts do you have
There.
that are, have congruent? On both sides of your three letters. So that would congruent. And you have to memorize. Remember, you have to memorize this for my quiz when you do this. Having the 4 selections there makes it super easy. Who needs one still? You still need one, right?
Looking for, she's still.
You know how to do that one yet? Thank you. You get one you think you can do? Call me over when you see it. No phone. No. Wow. Principal of our school just came in and talked about phones, and I got people pulling phones out. They didn't even get a point. Yeah, that's an old school. Yeah, but I came over and I said, yeah, I already knew that. I mean, again, I can't wait to talk to him and say, yeah, right after you left, 2 or 3 people. I mean, that's not me. That's not even Mr. Larson. That is the district saying they do not want that. Like, did you hear what he said? You're not supposed to use them going from class to class. 0 noise. I'm fired up right now. If it changes, especially for you 9th graders, and all of a sudden, like, they will have you put this is what he did at his other school. He did this at his other school. He's our principal. You put your phone in a pack when you got to school, and you put it in a locker, and you did not touch it until 1:55. Not lunch, not passing. If you want to go to that, because it keeps becoming an issue, keep testing. All this stuff that you keep pushing, all these rules. We got new administration. District is changing also. I'll say right now, you talk to some people that I think it's Osceola. Ask them how their rules have changed over the last year or two. Because they can't show ankles. They don't have uniforms, but they have 0 freedoms compared to what you guys have. And I'm telling you, that's the way public schools are going. Because it's getting tougher and tougher and tougher to control what you guys do. I don't know. Ready? So again, he just walked in and did that, and I got people pulling phone out that haven't even got their phone. We're gonna do this. Honestly, it's up. But the window. Yeah.
That point. Yes, I did. I'm just like, how do you get it? Oh, yeah, it's always. I put on my birthday.
Alright, so you want to step out, then back up, step out, and do what you gotta do. Well, hold on. I'm gonna give it to you. 'Cause you-
Oh, yeah, look at that. Easy coin, Mr. New.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask some questions. When they're easy, I normally ask questions. So it's fine.
Wait, Mr. Gill, how's my new page?
No, I.
Hey, that's the truth. You kids are all about trying to find a loop. You'll work 10 times as hard to find a loophole instead of just doing the original work, which wasn't even that bad. That's the way you guys roll.
That's how
That's the way you guys roll. Hey, keep hard. Girls basketball night games. Show up tonight. I'm expecting to see both of you there. I can't believe you don't go watch your brother play. Yeah, I talked to Ben a little bit today. Yeah, give the way. Yeah, I didn't come obviously Tuesday night, but I probably we'll get home next week. Maybe at least one home next week. Right? Yeah, I try to come to one home game. Really?
Baby shark.
Okay. Like you seem to be on top of a lot of stuff. So whatever you think.
Stop. Oh.
Whichever one you think you're the most prepared.
Hey.
They're all short enough where you can do any one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just completely forgot what you were talking about for a minute. Oh, Finn. Destiny is like my best friend. She's my across the street neighbor. Yes, like we grew up together. And now we're best friends. She's at my house every day. What is wrong with you?
I know one of it. What's number 5? Man?
She couldn't sing and she lied to me. She lied to my face.
Yeah.
I convinced her to join chorus.
It's low in this hallway.
Why lying? I didn't know. She was whipping with her wig.
Hey, what I care about is who's knocking my stuff down. I don't care what who's knocking my stuff down.
Her. She knocked it down. Why?
Hey, we got to get both of your 2 grades up also.
I have B. What do you have? You have an F? You have a referral. For what? You got an F too. Shut up.
You start? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Are you ready? All right. I'll just give you that. No, it's not. Just tell me. You don't have to do anything. So for that, what do we have? What are the letters we have? Like going from congruent smart to congruent smart.
Start with the
Well, that's when you name it. That was when you're naming it. For when you're doing like just like this kind of stuff, you just start from one of the congruence marks that's on the outer edge, and then you work your way through them. Well, you do have 2 sides, but where is the angle? Is it like if these are my 2 sides? The angle is where relative to my 2 sides between them, which means it's SAS. So does that prove congruence? That's one of them. What are the 2 that don't? There's only 2 that don't. So the 2 that don't, one of them is profanity. Well, that's not it, right? It's the angle is in between, so it's not that. And what's the other one that doesn't? So those are the only 2 that don't. So does SAS prove it?
Yeah.
Did you need me, Alexia? Or?
I went to the doctor Monday.
Yeah, you said you got a bunch of shots or something.
Yes, all that. So then on Tuesday, I had a fever, so I couldn't come to school.
Yeah, sometimes after you get those shots, you get 6 of these. I mean, you pick stuff up fast, but you did miss a lot of school. So hey, do you watch the videos at all?
Yeah.
So here, let me just show you something since it's lunchtime. here they are. This is what you need to review. I'm not gonna have you go back and even watch full lessons, because that's the new stuff, although I know your goals are a lot higher than some. So we'll have to take that as after we see how you do tomorrow. This video right here, I just did that quiz, which is one of the ones you can still retake. It was 2 grades. 1 grade, you'll see when you watch it. So watch that video. It says review for quiz, or quiz for review. And then there's another one. Well, hold on, there's one that I did the same thing on, but it's for the other one you can still retake, which was like the rotations and yeah. So review, blah, 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 for a quiz.
Okay.
So watch the 2 where I literally did the 2 quizzes. Now this one I'm going to change a little bit. I'm not going to give you the exact same rotation. I'm not going to give you the exact same reflection. The other one I'm not. I'm really just, I mean, the numbers will change, but that's still the same process.
For that retake, I got a good grade on the first half, but I need to take